For years, the high-speed, low-sustainment micro-chest rigs and 3-mag plate carriers have ruled the market both in the professional and civilian sector, a system designed and built for entities that have a large logistical support infrastructure, as well as fantastic news for the individual on the ground. Carrying less, both in weight and bulk, is better no matter which way you cut it, as long as it's sustainable. But what happens when it's not? What happens when food, water, ammo, and whatever else you may need isn't being funneled to you for one reason or another? How far could you go, or how much could you realistically get accomplished with just 3 magazines, a Capri Sun, and a pocket full of Band-Aids? When logistical capabilities are low, the importance of the individual sustainment dramatically increases, to the point where a micro rig and other similar setups just isn't up to the task. Plenty of systems out there that are though, from larger chest rigs like the military's TAP system, or suspended belt kits like the British PLC webbing and the older US Alex gear. I want to talk about another option that brings modern technology, materials, and design into the fold. A system built for the individual in mind and coming from Canada of all places. Turns out them French-speaking liberals up north can make more than just cheap whiskey and maple syrup. I'm G, and I run the Rebel Spirit Operations channel, and today we will be diving into the Molly Belt Kit by Carcajou Tactical. Hold tight.
I am the nation. I was born on July 4th, 1776, and the Declaration of Independence is my birth certificate. The bloodlines of the world run in my veins because I offered freedom to the oppressed. I'm many things and many people. I'm 200 million living souls and the ghost of millions who have lived and died for me. I'm more than 3 million farms. I'm forest, field, mountain, and desert. I'm quiet villages, and I'm cities that never sleep. I'm Nathan Hale and Paul Revere. I stood at Lexington and fired the shot heard round the world. I'm Washington, Jefferson, Patrick Henry. I'm John Paul Jones, the Green Mountain Boys, and Davy Crockett. I'm Lee, Grant, and Abe Lincoln.
Alright fellas, before we dive into this, I need to introduce you all to Athena Precision, a company that produces high quality optic plates made from hardened heat-treated steel, along with being a partner of this channel. They were cool enough to supply the channel with a discount code, saving you all money and putting a little bit back in my pocket every time one of y'all use it. I'm 100% biased here, no doubt, but I'm not going to knowingly push a product out to you fellas that's garbage, especially something as important as an optics plate for your EDC. I've had some piss poor luck with some well-known aluminum models out there that have completely shattered my confidence in them. So having a company like Athena Precision as a partner of this channel is just a perfect fit. Big thank you to them, and use code Rebel Spirit Operations for 10% off your entire order, or use the link down in the description. And guys, if you're looking to up your pistol game, may I also suggest checking out BlacksteelUSA, the manufacturer of the best gas pedal on the market. Their grip control module is by far the gold standard when it comes to any kind of thumb rest, and theirs has the added benefit of being extremely holster friendly thanks to their collapsible design. They're also cool enough to provide me with a discount code to forward on to you guys, which is just the cherry on top. Me and the guys were customers of theirs long before any kind of talks happened, which only occurred after I had put out my initial review on their product. So go give them a peek, it's definitely worth your time, and use code Rebel Spirit Operations 15 to make it just that much sweeter. Okay. I never really know how to kick these videos off, so I'll just start off by saying this is not a paid review. They did not send any of this out for free, give me a special discount, or pay me a dime. Hell, I doubt they'll even see this video, but on the off chance that they do, Carcajou, feel free to reach out. Y'all make some amazing stuff, and I totally show y'all shit even more than what I'm already about to do. To everyone else, that should clue you in on how the rest of this video is going to go. Now, even though I like a lot of their offerings, I'm not here to sell you on a specific brand. I'm not even trying to convince you to run a belt kit like this over another option. Everyone has their own preference.
Do you, boo-boo? Do you, boo-boo? You know why? Because I'ma do me!
And I'm not going to go into why you need more than 3 mags and a pocket full of gummy bears. No, I'll save that for a different day. I'm here to purely showcase this system. My system. Both the good and the bad. Maybe dive into some of the choices I made and why I made them, along with giving you a few tips if you decide to go down this path or a similar one. With all that out of the way, let's go ahead and dive in. I chose to go with belt kit setup for 3 main reasons: carrying capacity, weight distribution, and its ability to layer with other pieces of equipment in a way that I like, specifically armor. Prior to this, I ran a split rig from Beast's combat system for a few years, and although it's a really good piece of kit in its own right, it just really wasn't working for me. But my time with it and other systems did help me get a really good idea of what I wanted and didn't want out of a setup. The issue I was running into with the split rig was real estate. I simply didn't have enough of it to carry everything that I wanted. I could get really close, and perhaps with a bit more time I could have even squared that away, but I also didn't care for how it layered with armor at all. A more traditional chest rig like the Taps and other similar offerings is something that could solve my lack of space problem. But going that route would leave me with a very front heavy setup. All that bulk being located in my chest area, while being great for ease of access, sucks ass in areas with high temperature and humidity, as well as for getting low to the ground. Which, if you live in a flat wide open area where the largest terrain mass is either a ditch off the road or a dirt mount from a plowed field, the ability to get low becomes a more important factor. Long story short, I ended up wanting to build out basically a modern American version of the British PLC webbing system. Here in America, belt kits tend to have the reputation of being a bit more geared towards the bushcraft, camping, or recce category, if you will. Or at least that's the impression I get from people. It's probably because every time you see pictures or videos of guys roaming around with one, they have a big ass butt pack attached to it containing their entire sleep system in the damn thing, which really wasn't appealing to me either. I'm not trying to live out of my kit, I just wanted something I could train in and something a bit more versatile, both in what it could carry and what it could be layered with. Funny enough, while working on the script for this video, a gentleman on the Truth and Freedom YouTube channel released a 20-minute long video titled Belt Kit Guide for Americans in 2025. Me and him have zero relations with each other, but it would seem we had a similar thought pattern to our approach on belt kit. That entire video was very well done in my opinion, especially the ending, and he did an excellent job at giving a brief history of the American outlook on belt kits. So instead of rehashing all that, I'm going to urge you to go watch that video, after this one of course. As I'm making this video, I have just a little over a year with this system, although I swapped around my pouch placement more times than I can count. Currently I have it oriented more towards what I would call a Rifleman setup supporting a 5.56 AR platform. However, the system is very fluid and can also support a larger caliber platform as well. We will dig more into that when we take a closer look at the pouches though. Fully loaded down, the entire thing weighs around 40 pounds, depending on what exactly I'm carrying in my GP pouch, which is a heavy load, no doubt, but it carries the weight beautifully. How comfortable this setup rides, even during prolonged use, cannot be emphasized enough in my opinion. You're still carrying every bit of that weight, obviously, but in a way that's less burdensome to the end user. And although most of that weight is at the hips, I haven't really noticed it impeding my movement either. I spent many hours doing different drills, and the only thing I've noticed is the belt can shift upwards on your body when you drop down to go to the prone, but that may just be due to my preference in ride height. And in fact, there is a good argument to be made that, thanks to the way the weight is being evenly distributed across the body, the end user can move longer and more consistently, which, depending on the circumstances, could translate to a quicker times from point A to point B, including when you stack the setup with armor, which, in my opinion, is the best system to do so with. Having most of the weight of your support equipment taken off your shoulders and back makes the addition of a slick carrier almost effortless, and thanks to the design of the yoke, I can wear one either on top or underneath it without creating any hot spots or creating any unnecessary bulk. I know when people think of belt kits, most of the time body armor isn't part of that picture, but to me, how well these two systems mesh together is a major selling point of the system as a whole. The only major drawback when it comes to a bigger belt setup that I've been able to pin down is the fact that it can be uncomfortable and a bit too bulky when used in more traditional vehicles. And while yeah, that is something to consider, they're not like impossible to use. Plus, the entire system takes like what, 7 seconds to put on and take off? I don't know. I haven't really found it to be a big enough problem to stray away from the system altogether. And just because I know people will ask, I went with Cody for my color of choice, as it tends to be the best option for my area year round. However, it was still a bit too bright for my liking and did stick out a good bit. Long story short, I decided to try and tie-dye them in order to darken them up just slightly as well as give them a multifaceted color palette. I have a full video going over that process on my channel if you're interested, but the end result more or less worked. I'm not trying to perfectly blend it in my AO while I skull crawl my way to my objective or anything like that. I just need something that wouldn't stand out too much. Combined with different colored clothing, perhaps some white tape during the snowy seasons, and a bit of my local environment, this should work well enough, but honestly, who knows really. Perhaps the color or pattern will only matter in a purely aesthetic manner, in which case, I'm okay with the final product.
Sit back there and say my hair ain't luxurious when you know it is, bitch.
The belt itself is a fairly simple, straightforward design that has been executed very well. It's about 7.5 inches wide, giving you 6 rows of molly, and its length is dependent on the size that you get. This one is a large with a padded section of about 36 inches in length, and has 22 columns of molly space available. One little quick tip: if you're trying to determine what size to get, whether it be on this belt or another similar one, best thing to do is going to be to measure your hips. Starting from the 2 o'clock position, go around your back and end at the 10 o'clock. Then take that measurement and pick out a belt with a molly section equal to that length, instead of trying to rely on your more traditional sizings. Spread out along the top are 6 D-rings that have been hard sewn into the belt, designed to be used in conjunction with their harness. Now, I really appreciate that they did this. However, I really wish they would have moved the front 2 D-rings closer to the ends of the belt. They're only about an inch off, and this may purely be a preference thing, but I feel like the harness straps would ride better if I could get them slightly closer to the buckle. A very small nitpick, but it is something that crosses my mind every time I put it on. The face of the belt is covered in laser cut molly. Nothing particularly special or unique about it, but it is done very well. It uses 2-inch nylon webbing and a 2-inch plastic GT Cobra buckle as its closure method, which is fine, right? I mean, I have no real complaints on them, but I do feel like this was a missed opportunity. Not entirely sure what these buckles are called, but you can typically find them on nicer rucksacks that use a kidney pad. They allow for super quick and easy adjustment, and thanks to it needing an anchor point at both the top and bottom section of the belt, it should provide a better overall fit. But like I said, no real problems with the one they have, just could have been better in my opinion. And flipping the belt over, we can see it's layered in about 1/8 of an inch of fairly firm padding, making it ridiculously comfortable even when loaded down with a good amount of weight. Not entirely sure if this padding is made up of a different material compared to other offerings on the market, or if they just picked a good way to layer it on the belt itself. Regardless, the end result leaves the user with a very pleasant experience. Moving up, we have their yoke harness that, like I mentioned prior, utilizes a 6-point suspension system. Now, this is a really well thought out piece of equipment, both as the individual unit and how it integrates with the rest of one's kit. The material is made up what seems to be nothing more than 2 sheets of 500D Cadora sewed together, with 0 padding of any kind. And I'll be frank, when I put hands on it for the first time, I wasn't completely confident in its ability to support any kind of real weight comfortably. Luckily, my worries were put to rest over time thanks to its design and the design of its belt. The bulk of the weight is to be supported at the hips, and the belt does have an extremely nice layer of padding, making a padded harness mostly unnecessary. As an added benefit of it being so thin, it layers with other pieces of equipment like a plate carrier phenomenally. And on top of that, their harness is also a yoke, which if you don't know, basically just means it has a backing to it. This design creates more surface area for the weight to be evenly distributed across, which in turn makes for a more comfortable experience for the end user. This concept is also a factor in why animals and bugs like the water strider, for example, can walk and remain perched on top of water. That, and they are covered in tiny little hairs that trap a layer of air in between them and the water. But yeah, I just thought that was a cool example of how effective proper weight distribution can be. Back panel Carcajou decided to go with is a 9x10 section of what I'm going to call skeletonized molly, although I'm sure it has a proper name for it. It will give you 6 rows and 4 columns, as well as being a great way to remain well ventilated when not utilized. I haven't got the chance to play with this particular aspect of it yet, but I will be soon and think it's a pretty nifty addition. I think it may be handy if I can mount some kind of hydration carrier or perhaps a flat pack of sorts as a way to carry some larger tools or as a way to plus up on water when resupply isn't ideal, even though I'm not a huge fan of hydration bags and drinking hoses. But hey, if that's your jam, then this additional mounting area is absolutely perfect. Main thing for me is I just don't want it to interfere with a pack, and since a bag and a hose isn't my main hydration method, playing with this area just kinda has been on the back burner. Also, not gonna lie, the thought of mounting a tomahawk on it has crossed my mind once or twice, and it would be cooler than 2 snowmen fucking in a walk-in freezer, but realistically a bit unpractical, at least for me anyhow. These shoulder straps are 2 inches wide and have a number of features built into them, like a column of molly going all the way down it, as well as what I'm assuming is to be some sort of wire management slits along the side. They also have additional long strap of what looks to be something similar to one wrap sewn into the top and fed behind the molly, but I'll come back to that in 1 second. Towards the end of the shoulder straps, you have a small limited area to mount a chest strap and a PTT depending on your mounting clip and method. Plus some comically long strips to feed down into the belt and then back into the plastic mounting hardware, giving you some limited on-the-fly adjustability. I say limited because it doesn't really adjust ride height while on the go. You kind of need to adjust your back straps as well, but it does let you adjust how much weight is being carried on your hips versus your shoulders and back. Back to those strips of one wrap. They were designed to be integrated into shoulder pads, ensuring they stay in place if one wishes to run them. And if you don't have a ton of time in plate carriers or LBE systems, I can't express to you enough just how nice of a feature this is. They can work with any pads that uses a Velcro closure system, including their own set, which I'm also running. Again, nothing particularly unique about these except that they use the same padding material that's in the belt, or at least something close to it, which I've already given plenty of praise on, so needless to say, these have become my absolute favorite shoulder pads. There are plenty that I haven't tried that I'm sure are good in their own right, but these are like a little piece of heaven riding on my shoulders, and I haven't found the need to switch from them. They also have some laser cut slits in the top for some wire or hose management, and work well when using them as the same padding for both your LBE and plate carrier at the same time. Typically, I just toss my carrier over the harness and let my straps ride on top of the pads, but if you want to secure them on the inside of the padding itself, you can. It just takes a little bit more time darting the carrier on and off. Pouches are the only thing really left to discuss, and like I said earlier, I've had this belt set up in more pouch configurations than I can count. I'm sure there will be some B-roll footage throughout this video showing that. For one reason or another, all those past configurations ended up not working out, obviously. However, for now, I'll just go into how I currently have it set up. It may very well change in the future given my history, but currently there is no need for it, and I'm pretty happy with how it sits, mostly. Like I said earlier, the majority of these pouches I use are from Carcajou, specifically for certain aspects they offer and not because of any kind of brand loyalty or anything of the such. The modern take on what I would deem old gear designs is very well thought out and fit my need almost perfectly. And the more time I get to actually train in kit, the more I tend to not really care for systems that use a lot of Velcro. Over time it just gets beat to hell and becomes less effective as time goes on. But that's enough foreplay, let's go ahead and dive in. Starting at the left and sitting at my 10 o'clock is one of 4 Carcajou recce pouches capable of carrying 3 30-round magazines. 3 out of the 4 pouches I have of theirs are the 7.62 version, which I recommend over the 5.56 one, even if you run a 5.56 platform. Reason being is their 5.56 recce pouch is designed to hold metal mags specifically. Using anything else such as P-mags makes for an extremely tight fit that will more likely cause issues when retrieving them. The 7.62 version, however, can run both polymer and metal magazines in the orientation that you prefer. Plus, they have the added benefit of being able to run 2 larger caliber magazines like 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor, as the name suggests. The pouch requires 2 columns of molle and has a single D-ring sewn into the top of the rear section, and uses a 3-pronged buckle closure system as its main securement method, with an optional Velcro method as well. The face of the pouch has a bit of loop material, while the inside of the lid hides a patch of hook. I opt to use both, ensuring I have the maximum equipment retention when not actively being manipulated, while giving me faster option to quickly close and secure the pouch after retrieving a magazine. The lid itself is a fully enclosed design, covering all 4 corners and a bit on the side as well, giving maximum protection and retainability, which is a common theme across my kit. The pouch also comes with a bit of shock cord and a pull bead around it as well, plus a 2x6 section of laser cut molle on each side of it. A very handy feature I'm taking advantage of by attaching a double TQ pouch to it. It's a custom piece I ordered from a guy on Instagram called Cottonmouth Customs. I reached out, told him I needed a pouch to hold 2 tourniquets, and not long after, this guy showed up on my doorstep. I wasn't very specific at all in my request, and as such there were a few minor details that I just really didn't care for. So instead of bothering him to fix something that may have been due to my lack of clarification, I got my beautiful wife to help me out. Nothing major really, just resizing the lid and swapping out the hook material for some new stuff, as I think the tie-dyeing process may have weakened the first. Since I resized the lid, the hook material had to be moved anyhow, so I just replaced it altogether. Everything said and done, I'm fairly happy with it. It's a pouch meant to carry 2 tourniquets, which it does so perfectly, and down the road if I decide instead to use it for something else, well, it's a good size to carry all sorts of stuff. Now in a similar fashion, sitting underneath the recce pouch is a rolled up dump pouch from Flatline Fiber Co. Not a ton one can really say about it except for that it works. It's out of the way when I don't need it and doesn't take up any additional molle or real estate. So yeah, win for that one. Following that at my 9 o'clock is another 7.62 recce pouch holding 3 more mags. Seeing as how I just covered this pouch, I'll just say be careful when trying to add stuff to the side molle sections here if you plan on doing something similar. When the belt is riding on the body, you will have some negative space in between each pouch, and as such, you may have the itch to put something there. Not saying that you can't, just that if you do, I suggest sticking to shorter items, as taller, bulkier ones tend to interfere with pouch closure. Something I found out when trying to attach a fixed blade next to one. Damn handle kept getting in the way. Regardless, test out opening and closing each pouch thoroughly to ensure no snag ups are happening. Snuggled up close to that is my radio in the form of a variant of the 152 Harris. From my understanding, it's a reproduction and not a true Harris, but the best one of its kind. Aluminum housing, same software, and uses the correct hardware. I don't know a ton about these things to be honest, but what I do know is finding a good spot to put this brick of a radio has been a giant pain in my ass. But I think I finally found a good middle ground. It's riding in a pouch I picked up off of Amazon, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce the name of the company that makes it. I did reroute the shock cord at the top of the pouch through the D-ring on the belt just to help pull that weight closer to the body because she be a bit of a thick gal. Connected to it is a Disco 32 U94A NATO 6-pin PTT, and the only thing I can really say about this is that the alligator clip thingy this thing ships with completely sucks ass. I still need to find a good aftermarket option to replace it, but for now I have it jerry-rigged onto the harness using one of these little doodads and a bit of shock cord. Connected into it are some beat up Peltors that have definitely seen some better days, but despite the abuse they've been through, they're still working, which really is a testament to their durability. Dipping back down to the pouches at the 7 o'clock position is a 9x3 sustainment pouch from Carcajou as well, one of 3 that I utilize. The pouch measures 9 inches long, 3 inches wide, and 3.5 inches in depth. It takes up 2 columns of moly, and it has 2 D-rings sewn into it located at the top. The interior is lined with loop Velcro, and the opening has a pull string plus bead closure method, and the lid is also a fully enclosed style using a 3-prong quick disconnect buckle. A 2x2 section of laser cut moly lays on top of the lid, as well as a 2x8 section down each side of the pouch. And lastly, there are 3 small flat pockets as well, one on each side of the pouch behind the moly section and one on the face of the body. Now, I mentioned earlier that a bladder and a hose was not my primary source of hydration. I instead opt to run Nalgene style canteens for their overall robustness, and these sustainment pouches are absolutely perfect for them.
I am the chosen one. Somebody had to do it.
I have the Pathfinder's entire cooking set in the main compartment, which consists of a 32-ounce stainless steel wide-mouth canteen, a nested cup, plus a little lid and a stove. And still some leftover space, although I'm not sure how much of it is actually usable. If you want to be super space efficient and build out some redundancy, you could fold up a cloth bandana or signal panel and have it sit underneath everything at the bottom. In one of the side flat pockets, I keep a stash of aqua tabs. They are small and compact enough that you can keep a healthy amount on you without really noticing. And as such, I typically keep enough to treat like 40 liters, which is way more than needed, but hey, why not? And the other 2 pockets I mostly just leave empty. Riding directly above my ass is a butt pack of sorts, and I'll give you one guess where it hails from. This is their 9x10 sustainment pouch, which, as the name implies, measures 9 inches long, 10 inches wide, with a depth of 3.5 inches. It takes up 6 columns of moly and has 4 D-rings spread out along the top rear portion, along with an additional 2 in the front of the pouch. 2 cargo straps right on top of the pouch using the front and rear D-rings as anchor points, but the straps are easily removable if I don't want or need them. Similar to the pouch it's sitting next to, this one is also Velcro lined and has laser cut moly on the lid. However, it's a 2x10 section. Same 2x8 moly section and flat pockets on each side, but the face of the body has 2 large flat pockets and it uses 2 3-prong QD buckles instead of just 1. And lastly, there is also a small moly section on the bottom of the pouch as well. Just a large open general purpose pouch that, thanks to its size and design choice, is extremely versatile. The cargo straps on top provide a great way to carry bulky odd items like sleeping mats and tripods. Could also be used as a quick and easy way to stow excess clothing layers like jackets and ponchos as you strip them on and off during a rucker patrol. Perhaps even a helmet if you get a bit creative. The interior is big enough to carry larger items such as night vision, thermals, or even a small drone in the protective cases, yet not so large it gets in the way of a rucker pack. Most of the time it's used as an XLGP pouch, and about half of it remains empty space available for any last minute additions, mission, job related equipment, or just for the sake of having options. Having some extra space on your setup turns out to be extremely handy and kinda like a multi-tool in its own right. Dropping ruck and heading out for a few hours? Cool. Grab an MRE, some extra water, maybe even a jacket or a bivvy just in case 4 to 5 hours turns into 12 to 24. Drone operator needs some extra batteries? Toss them in the butt pack. You get the idea. When the belt's not in use, the larger pouch holds all my pocket litter, and just so happens to help fill it out for the sake of this video. Popping it open, laying on top, and typically my most used items in here is my balaclava and a bit of mesh netting. The face mask was a gift from my friend, and I have yet to find a better one on the market when it comes to breathability. I'm pretty sure it's from Arc'teryx, and kinda makes sense now why they charge so much for this damn thing. Sometimes the expensive shit really is worth it. The mesh netting was technically a gift as well, but one from one of those work Christmas parties. Likely an Amazon special, and in all honesty could probably use a bit of spray paint, but otherwise it's really nice to have. Obviously it can be used to help conceal you if you're posted up somewhere, but it can also be used as an extra article of clothing. It makes for a fantastic scarf or a second head covering, which really is nice during the colder seasons. and the main reason why it lives on my fighting load versus my pack. Map, compass, protractor, face paint, and a headlamp all get moved to a clothing pocket or one on the body, while a poncho, wind gauge, batteries, Ride in the Rain, and my spare beanie and socks mostly live in the pouch unless in use or if I need the space for something else. A bit of 550 in one of the side flat pockets and a simple fixed blade stashed in the other. Nothing special, just some cheap D2 steel from China.
China. I've been saying China. China? China. China.
Size-wise, I think Carcajou really found a good, healthy middle ground when it comes to their version of a butt pack. Large enough to be really diverse as far as what it can carry, yet not so much so that one's tempted to try and pack their whole damn tent in the fucking thing. Next up, sitting in my 5 o'clock is the second 9x3 sustainment pouch, and just like the first, this one is holding some H2O, in the form of a 40-ounce wide-mouth clean canteen, which is also made of stainless steel. This one just happens to have a bit of spray paint on it. Only other thing in this pouch is just a Bic lighter kept in a small plastic bag and a bit of electrolytes in the form of powdered drink mix. They are also kept in a plastic bag kind of stacked on top of each other. Then I have that bag sitting behind the canteen forming around it. Doing so allows me to utilize some of that dead space I would otherwise have if it was just my canteen in here, and also allows me to carry more individual packs than if I was just to stuff them in the flat pockets. However, it also makes canteen reinsertion slightly more tedious and sometimes a bit of a pain in the ass, especially if you're trying to do so while moving. I mainly pull water from my left side as for whatever reason it feels more intuitive, and that way I only have to worry about water sloshing in one of my canteens at a time, so I really haven't ran into much trouble with this setup. But if I do, I can always just toss the whole bag into a pocket or something. Taking up the 4 o'clock position is my IFAK, indicated by the red tape in my last 3x9 sustainment pouch. Ultimately, its placement was a compromise, as obviously I can't reach this thing with both arms, which I do believe is the right route to go if possible. I got the opinion of a few field medics, and they mostly agreed it was acceptable as the IFAK is meant to be used on you by others. That the first thing that you're going to want to do, give it a chance, is strip that kit off you and properly take care of it. Best you can anyways. Main thing was to not skimp out on readily available tourniquets. Now, I'm sure I pissed off more than one person with that statement, but remember, it's just an opinion statement and one that doesn't really affect you. Unless you choose to do the same thing, of course, in which case, yeah, stack up on TQs. Opening her on up, we'll see a very basic, non-impressive setup, but it works. And decently well at that. Right on top, I, or whoever, has fairly quick access to everything in this pouch. A Cat Gen 7 tourniquet lays up front, staged, and separate from everything else. And ideally, the first thing someone sees, God forbid, if they're actually opening this thing up to work on me. Tucked in the very back out of sight is a set of trauma shears. To it, I've tied a small pull tab of sorts that does as the name suggests, and thanks to the red tape at the end, can be dangled outside of the pouch and used as another identifier if needed. Lastly, sandwiched in between is the IFAK contents itself, all confined in a single plastic bag. In fact, it's one of the bags one of these pouches came in, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe not the ideal way to carry supplies, but it's not a horrible way either. Inside, I keep 2 chest seals, 1 emergency trauma bandage, 6-inch, 4 compressed gauze, 2 hemostatic gauze, 1 emergency blanket, 1 roll of medical tape, and 1 glow stick. The 3 o'clock spot has kind of been in limbo for a little bit. Even now, I'm not completely sold on how I've utilized the space, but it's been working well enough to run with it. Here lays a 5.56 recce pouch. However, instead of it being dedicated to ammunition, I'm using it to carry a smoke grenade. The pouch is slightly oversized for that purpose, but throwables such as smokes and flashbangs don't really have uniform sizes. Plus, I can always use the shot cord on the pouch to reduce any slop left over, and doing it this way adds more versatility to the system as a whole. It's still a mag pouch and can be used as such for both 5.56 and 308 should I need it to. Not to mention it has the added benefit of keeping that mirrored look across the entire kit, really satisfying my inner OCD. Attached to the side of it is a small pouch from Cedar Sewing Co., another one-man sewing shop I found on Instagram. Funny enough, this pouch is actually made for smokes, but thanks to their design, they can also be used to hold a number of smaller items. Smokes, tourniquets, flashlights, and a rangefinder can all be properly secured, although that last one was a bit of a tight fit. The shot cord, elastic band, and adjustable flap allow you to get a snug fit on whatever you can manage to fit inside of it. I keep a multi-tool stashed in this one, and although this area does look a bit congested, surprisingly in practice, I actually haven't ran into too many problems. The last 2 columns on Molly sits my 4th and last recce mag pouch from Carcajou. Stored inside lays 3 magazines, each equipped with a finger loop to help aid in retrieval. These act more like a safety net rather than a primary source of a reload, since the 2 o'clock position isn't the easiest to reload from for a right-handed shooter. This brings my total up to 9+1 mags using a 5.56 platform, with the ability to easily scale up or down. The same kit will also support 8 308 size magazines, which may or may not seem a bit excessive depending on your perspective. How much ammo should be on a fighting load really is a topic that deserves its own video, and in the end largely depends on a host of factors that each person or group will have to figure out for themselves. However, in my opinion, which mostly doesn't mean shit, the more traditional 6+1 mag loadout is a little bit on the weak side. Again, not to go too much into the weeds here, but a single react to contact or ambush drill spanning the course of 5 to 8 minutes will likely have you going through all 7 of those mags, or really close anyhow. And that's with all things going for you, i.e. not getting shot at. On the off chance I'm ever put into that kind of situation, personally I'd rather fiddle with an inconvenient pouch than dig into my pack that I may or may not have for some extra ammo. The extra weight is minimal, and running a belt kit space really isn't a concern for me, so it's a good fit. Anyhow, moving along in a similar fashion to my first, this pouch also has a secondary pouch attached to it. Another smoke pouch from Cedar Sewing Co., and this time using it for its intended purposes. Not much to add about it, so we'll go ahead and move along to the last piece of kit, which is still a work in progress. I'm completely sold on the idea, just trying to figure out the best way to implement it and how it should be utilized. The tried and true fanny pack. Now, I could just slap whatever in it and wear it with its included waist belt, which may end up being what I do, but I wanted to see if I could first suspend it from the belt itself. The idea is to have it dangle over the buckle area using QD clips anchored in at the 2 and 10 o'clock, allowing me to still take the belt on and off quickly while the fanny pack remains attachable and still able to be worn in the more traditional fashion. As far as what it's used for, well, that's still to be decided. I could use it as an IFAK, moving my current one from the 4 o'clock to the 12, giving me access to it with both hands. I could move some of my more commonly used items in my rear sustainment pouch up front, or I could just leave it empty, in case I need to move everything out of the butt pack and make room for larger items. But first I think I'm going to play around with it as a way to carry a pistol. Some people in our space tend to think that pistols on a fighting load is a bit pointless, or for someone trying to emulate some kind of CQB fantasy, and that's fine. I'm not really here to try to change hearts and minds. Its staying will likely depend on how many times this thing nut checks me as I'm running around and dropping to the prone. Main thing to take away from this is I view the pistol more as a utility tool and a security blanket more so than I do a backup in case my primary goes down. Like I said, it's just the concept I'm still playing with, and there is a decent chance I instead use it as an IFAK. Chances have it the pouches will get swapped in, out, and around as time goes on, and my struggle with restless kit syndrome progresses. But as it sits, I feel like it's a healthy balance of fighting capabilities, personal sustainment, and versatility. All in all, I don't have too many negative things to say about this setup, other than the minor things I've already pointed out. Carcajou really did a bang-up job when designing this little ecosystem of nylon, if you will, and their yoke may very well be the best one on the market. The belt itself is very comfortable, and they did make some wise choices when it comes to the use of materials and its construction. Very basic and possibly a bit overpriced, but it really is hard to complain about something that's just so damn comfortable. Anyhow, this video's been long enough, so I'll go ahead and wrap it up there. If you haven't done so already, be sure to go check out the website where we have builds, breakdowns, training tools, and of course the community tab where we have an amazing selection of content creators. Seriously. The guys on there are some of the most genuine folks I've met, and all of them have a passion for what they do. Link to the website will be down in the description below. This has been G with Rebel Spirit Operations, and I'm out. Later.